So, great to have you. Thank you very much, Plunet, for having all of us. It's always a great pleasure to join, especially getting such a wonderful topic. We're going to talk about transformation and the future of our industry, which is great connection to the amazing presentation we just heard from Scott. Thanks very much for that, and it's great to kick it off from there. Let me introduce Frederik from EasyTranslate, Arthur, LangOps, Mathijs from Blackbird, André, Lingo Systems, and István Lengyel from BeLazy. Thank you for your time and for coming. So, I was thinking when driving here this morning, how do we start? And I'm thinking how crazy it became in the last 2 years that our daily, hourly, maybe even, hourly life changed thanks to the recent development that has been out there for more than 2 years now. I think the extreme is when I don't go and don't use booking.com for finding my place to stay during my holiday, but I just ask ChatGPT and say, these are the conditions. Family of 4, seaside, snorkeling, budget, whatever, and it gives me options. It gives me hotel, it gives me travel, it gives me budget, and I know where to pick it. How crazy it became. I don't want to discuss anymore what are the different options, whether AI is here and how are we implementing it. I think has critically changed. We all are doing it right now, and we've seen some examples in the past 2 days, although I didn't, I wish I was here. But I would like each one of you guys to just put a statement on the transformation, where we're going, and what is your main feeling about the future. So Frederik, if you want to kick it off.
Thank you. And thank you for last night, everyone. It was a great party. First timer. I think that today I would love to discuss, of course, the use of AI in the localization process, and also maybe address a bit the misconception that AI is only good for non-complex tasks, and also the security elements within utilizing AI in the localization industry. I think those would be very, very interesting. And of course, finally, maybe if we can have some questions about pricing models and others. We also touched upon that yesterday. So I think that's what I would like to participate with.
Excellent, thank you.
Hello, I'm Arthur Wetzel. I'm from the LangOps Institute, which is located in Dublin and in Berlin. So this is more or less my home turf, and I'm happy to be on this panel, though I only see white males here, but that's, I don't know. Well, okay. But, so maybe, next year or the other year. Okay, now, at the LangOps Institute, or at LangOps, we are redefining the way we will look onto language as a strategic layer, as something which levers much, much more, which is not a cost center, but an investment, and which also has incorporated much, much more of the new workflows, which are bidirectional, so interactive, which are real-time, which are knowledge-centric, which are language-agnostic in terms of infrastructure. And what we do at the LangOps Institute, we bring together basically the best systems with the best people for customers, enterprise customers, and LSPs. And those LSPs are in the transformation process right now. And we are very, very, very happy to support those LSPs that are ready to transform with their customers and with the new systems that they need.
Thanks, Arthur.
Thank
you. Let me direct my opening statement at basically everyone in the audience who represents an LSP. On the topic of transformation, of course, it's something that we help businesses with every day. And we have both LSP clients and enterprise clients, and we see that the requests that we get from enterprise clients couldn't be any more different than the ones that we get from LSPs. And you could say, well, that makes sense, right? It's a different type of company. But I think it's already a word of warning for LSPs that the things that your enterprise, your clients as well, are working on and what their needs are may be very different from what you think they are. And we even see this in practice when our enterprise clients are saying, okay, our LSP is not giving us what we want, so we come to you. But that LSP client was already a client of ours. So clearly, even with the right technology, you might not even be asking the right questions from your client what their real needs are. And they can change really rapidly as well.
So, André from Lingo Systems. We are working for our clients, which are LSPs as well as enterprises, on automating their workflows and processes around localization and translation. And AI has opened up a bunch of new opportunities to bring automation onto a new level in the recent years. So this is what we what we are doing in our projects. And I am curious to learn today within this discussion here, what are the current challenges LSPs as well as enterprises are facing in adopting those opportunities. Because what I can see is that we often talk about in a very general way about adopting and implementing AI solutions. But if we take a look at the scenarios actually happening in the companies, they stay on the surface. They are very, like first step approaches. We had a very interesting roundtable discussion yesterday on this topic. So it would be great to learn what are the next steps that the companies are planning here, because I think there's a bunch of opportunities that we can discover and use in certain scenarios.
So I'm István, and to set the stage a little bit, one of the things that we find at BeLazy is that people are very focused on logos, on different tools and software, and then they start mixing apples and oranges. So what happens in the end is that instead of focusing on getting an end-to-end process right, what they are trying to do is, which tool do I buy? And the point is that, as Scott very rightly put it, like getting to the last mile, 2.54 centimeters, is often the hardest part. And this is the part where you can do things, but you cannot really compete with AI as a human provider, because one of its benefits is the speed. And what you need to do is like really tighten up all the loose ends. And we've been working on this for the last 5 years, like how to turn from logos to use cases and like meaningful processes. And this is something that I would like just to put down on the table.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, István. And when we had the preparation call for this panel, I said, let's not be too high level. Let's go to the practical cases. So thanks for the path there. By the way, we have Slido here, so please do, many of you answer it, which is fantastic. Thank you for doing that. Please do scan the code and add your answer to the challenge that we've pasted and we've agreed on putting out there. So Mathijs, I loved the case when you said the LSPs are having similar challenges to the buyers. When we run the consulting sessions at Nimdzi, we actually see that they are trying to replicate on the buyer side what the LSPs are facing, even if they didn't have a localization or translation department. They're very much trying to figure out how do we make this so it doesn't cost us anything and we don't need any human resources. Yeah. Can you give us some example of, a similar type of project that on the buyer side is happening? It doesn't have to be exactly the one that I described, but tell us more. What is it that we need to be prepared that the customers are coming with, and how do we need to be technologically prepared for it?
So a typical enterprise, of course, if the enterprise is larger, it has many departments already that all funnel their requests into the localization department typically. They all care about, we want to stay in our own space. We don't want to, the LSP has some technology that they use, the enterprise localization department. That's fun, but we want to really stay in our space and we really don't want to be bothered with that. You see that with both starting localization departments and already existing localization departments. And that is a huge bottleneck for creating any workflow, any automation, because suddenly you need to, even within the organization, shift left. And you have to do conversion between different systems and going into other places. That is a huge bottleneck. And if the localization department can say it's fine, we can just integrate into your existing stack, that creates immense value and a lot of happiness among all the different departments. Because usually they don't have the ability to tell the other departments this is how you should do it, right? That is usually laid upon them. So being able to integrate with all these departments who are using different tools, that is where we see directly from different examples and cases that we have, that the most value is created there internally.
Okay, that goes back to one of the challenges we're seeing there, and that is change management. Frederik, you want to comment on that?
Yeah, I think actually you touch upon something very interesting about end customers starting up AI projects, eventually also to cut cost on localization, among others. Because I think that, it is, I think that I read an article in Denmark where they made an analysis of the top 25 biggest companies and how many of those in the last general board meeting had AI as part of the agenda. And I think it was like 24 out of 25. So this have, scaled to a whole different level, and it gets budgets, which also means that we are in a situation where potentially our customers is outperforming us because they need to cut costs, they need to have more, a faster productivity lane when it comes to localization. And I think it's our job to not try to pause that or try to scare customers that this would be bad quality and you will risk all those kind of things. I mean, of course, there is a risk involved. And I think the balance here is how great is the potential upside in cost savings, time to market, all those kind of things versus the actual risk. And I think here that is where we really need to step up our games and be part of the solution with our customers and go in and provide, I think for instance with Blackbird, take over, draw up the content lifecycle with a specific customer, centralize the language assets and utilizing it for all the different purposes. For instance, replacing that they are using Copilot where they need to do the same changes over and over and over and over and over again. And then, you can build up a different business model probably, but I think this is something that is, at least from what we're experiencing from customers, this is it's a actual pain point.
Yeah, it's also dangerous or you can also position it as be careful of what you ask for if you want to have the conversation in front of the C-level people, right? And discussing the nitty-gritties of a specific vertical. István, I see you have a comment to that as well.
Yeah, some of the, one thing that comes to my mind here is that we also need to see what is the total level of investment needed. And to start with, there are a couple of different aspects, because there is the project flow, which is something that is how you are centralizing the intake of the different content and how you are putting it through a process. There is the modality, which is, are you using a human? Are you using a machine? Are you using machine translation? Are you using LLM? And the third one is the databases, which is translation memories and terminologies, that's much a database as your customer or vendor database. And these three layers need to be kind of designed separately with interactions between them. And once you get it, the rest is going to come. And one of the things that I see very often is that if somebody wants to put so many layers of AI, agentic, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, when are we going to reach the cost of a human there? Because there is a certain level that is going to be costing you so much that you could just use a human for that. And I don't know if it's better, but definitely more accountable.
Thank you. André, you had the question on the challenges people are facing. So the most important one we're seeing here, or the most important 5 are finding the right tools, which has been, I think, touched upon by István earlier. It's not about one single tool. It's integration and using the right different type of combination. Then we have integrating them, time, stuff, and interfaces. Pick one and talk to us about it.
I think what we see here reflects what we also saw yesterday at the roundtable, that most companies attending today perceive themselves as being in the experimenting phase. So they are just trying out, and I completely understand what we see here because there is, like, every week or every month there's like a new vendor, a new software product, a new thing you can try. You can try out, and it's very difficult if you want to to experiment with those things, to decide where to start and which product to choose. So I completely understand what we see here. However, I think it's a good thing to start somewhere. Maybe it's not a perfect decision. You will learn a lot when you try out those things, and I would assume that this situation will hold for, I don't know, the next 6 to 12 months, when everybody is experimenting, and then at some time, eventually, I think there will be some major players where you as a company know, okay, that's the right partner for us to automate what we want to automate.
Okay, I hear you. So when I was running a consulting project last week for a TMS provider, I actually figured out that they're spending a lot of money, István, on testing all of the recent development of AI and which one is the one that's working the best for them today, which was around 40 different language models. It's a hell of a money. So I stay with you, and I agree. On the integration part, that makes a lot of sense, André. But out of all of these questions, Artur, with the Institute perspective, where do I start out of all of these challenges? Which one is the first one, and how do I flow through those to make sure that I'm doing the things right? I don't know if I'm sorry, we don't have a screen so you can see it properly, but what do you suggest is the right process for us to go through?
Repeat, please.
Okay, so there are a lot of challenges. Which one of those challenges do you suggest I start with solving the first?
I cannot name that because it's more or less all, because we are right now in a paradigm shift which sees, I mean, when I'm talking to C-level people, and I'm talking to a lot of them, I'm more talking to CIOs and CTOs than CMOs or something, or people that are more related to that, and they see language as a strategic force that they want to empower and really see that from A to Z. And for that, there's a lot that they need. They need the right systems, future-proof. They need the right people, so upskilled people. And this is also the perspective or the hope for all those linguists that are very, very bright. And yes, they will be data architects. We already read that today, but they will also be multilingual knowledge curators and so on. So it's a much broader view on the whole on the holistic project, and not so much about, hey, can we change the TMS here and then we are right. I don't think that this is the right way to look at it, because if I read the research data right, we are going into a direction which is highly technicized, and so we have to leave some things behind.
Okay, thank you. So do I understand correctly that if we start, so you're looking at it from the buyer perspective, so challenging the internal stakeholders, understanding what is it that they want to implement, talking to the right people, and trying to analyze what they look for. What if I start internally? What if I am, as majority of the people here are LSPs, where do I start? Should I change the project management and fire some of the project managers, hire some of the technology specialists to solve, I don't know, 1/5 of the problems here? Where do I get to start?
Well, okay, I think this is a very, very good question, and thank you for that. I mean, from the LSP side, and I've been on the LSP side for some years. You have to be technically savvy. You have to change your view on what you do. You're not a service provider providing the service that somebody asks you for, but you should also make up your mind about the services that are really needed, or that your customers really want, and this is a lack of marketing and also lack of sales abilities, because this goes more into the direction of consultative sales, also providing consultative services, and then picking the right solution for your client. Because if you work for Roche Diagnostics, this is one thing; it's a regulated industry. If you work for Mercedes-Benz, that's totally different. And LSPs have to be highly adaptive, and they need technologies that we have right here, and they also need LSPs which are open to that kind of discussion. And many LSPs are not. They still think it's like, well, everything is fine, and yeah, but it's probably not.
See. Great, thank you. Frederik, if you want to comment on that, but I would love you to share your experience with us on the effectiveness integrating the processes, and how to make sure that there's a consistency, that the translation is accurate, and so on. And are you happy with it?
Yeah, I'm happy with it. I don't know if I'm happy about this year. Yeah, it's changing. That's better, I think. A little bit more, no. So, no, I think that I can maybe just put it from, at home, so to speak. So how it works with EasyTranslate, I already mentioned that yesterday. Our team have transformed kind of completely over the past couple of years. So we don't have any project managers in EasyTranslate. We have, I think it's, a handful AI trainers. The rest is working the tech team. They're working closely together. And we have been building functionality based on customer requests, basically. So when we onboard customers, first of all, we have the biggest challenge that we receive their language assets, style guides, you name it, things that we would need to kind of enforce it and materialize it in a AI setup. But we do dry runs, do the first setup, run it, give it to the customer, and they come back, I don't like this, I don't like this, I don't like this. So we backtrack, where is those segments, where are they coming from? Why weren't they flagged? Why wasn't they changed? Those kind of things. And essentially, often it comes from their own translation memory. So we figured out that, okay, before we actually can solve, going forward, we need to also find a way to clean up backwards. And here you want to construct a layout where you can extract text you don't like, and you can enforce and create more text that you like. So that is, for instance, one part, and I'm trying now to kind of build up the value chain, which is, in my perspective, worth a lot to end customers, because you don't build those things internally like this. You can build LLMs to generate text about a product, but if you want to do this, for broader, high quality content, it's a full business. And I think that is what we all could be also selling and providing. So when you have done those things, you start to have, the foundation, the language foundation, that you can start to run these massive volumes through with very little human effort. And all the human efforts that you are looping in, or experts you're looping in, are contributing to the language assets by improving the quality step by step. And I think this is, this is a way to create quality.
Thanks, Frederik. I'll pull it back to the effectiveness of the workflows. And for what you just said, it's about looking back at, and also maybe figuring out the data points, and how we're staying with the data that we have in the background and how we're capable of leveraging, right? István, do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, bad data comes from bad processes. So, like this whole thing Mathijs was yesterday mentioning, shift left. Patricia Palladini, I don't know how many of you know her. She is the champion. I mean, I just call her Patricia Shift Left Palladini. And she has been saying this for the last 5 years. And the whole thing is about metadata. And now people are like tagging their own data. And at the same time, we are dealing with the 100-year-old problem of bad segmentation coming from Trados tag editor segments and like translators workbench segments, because companies are like, this is mine, I'm not gonna let it go. I mean, you are not translating what you translated 15 years ago. So what is the value in that? There is no reuse in that at all. And I think that the data cleansing and the metadata tagging is something that it's best done by designing a good process. Because then you just set up the data in the beginning correctly. You take the time, and it's not that the project manager is just solving it quickly, but goes back to this is the communication and the account management part, goes back to the originator of the problem to clarify upfront. And then it can go through everything, and everything is going to be quite perfect as in tagging. And there is one thing that a lot of people don't realize, that if you got like a linear process going from the beginning to the end, without updates, without changes, having that under control, I mean, cost-wise, in terms of automation, that is gonna cost you 10% of what you will be charged for if you want to go back and re-import and fix this and whatever. So like optimizing the process is optimizing the quality.
Thank you, István. By the way, anyone has a question or anything, shout. Or feel free to scream at me, and I will pass the microphone. Anything you want to ask straight away? Not at this point? Okay. Mathijs, I see the eye contact.
Yeah, I really wanted to jump in there, make that a little concrete in how I see that data is being treated right now in our industry. If you think as an LSP, like, oh yeah, we got all this data because we're sitting on one or multiple massive TMs, that's not really smart data, because a TM is really the data that you get from the classical workflow and process that we have in this industry. And all a TM really says is, at some point in history, someone translated this segment this way. And that's not really, it is useful data in a way, but it's, again, it's a show of how the process has been treated so far. It's somebody sends us segments, and we send translated segments back. There's not much actual smart data involved there that you can use to really advance, well, basically both your data foundation and your workflow foundation. Annotating, the first step will be annotating that data with, okay, like I showed yesterday, how is it actually performing? And then using that performance to decide, okay, which segments I'm actually going to use for my next translation. And that already requires a change of process, like István said, in order to make your data smarter.
Don't mind, I would just like to reflect on this. Like in my past, I've been involved with MemoQ, and I would like to represent MemoQ and just say something really interesting here. That so MemoQ in 2011 came up with the concept of live docs. I think that there are lots of MemoQ users here. You are familiar with live docs. So the thing is that that was the first thing that was actually, instead of taking like segments, when I talked with Jochen Hummel, he actually told me that the very reason why TM is just storing segments is the 1990s computing power. There is no other reason for that. They also wanted to store documents. But at the same time, I don't see any enterprise storing entire documents and leveraging entire documents, where at least you would know that that segment was proofread or not proofread. Also, some tools are able to annotate this. Some tools are able to put like this is a proofread segment or not. Very few users use it. So it's actually is the user's fault. It's not the tool provider's fault.
Okay. André, anything you would reflect on this, whether it's the workflow or the TMS versus a business management system integration?
What I would like to add is that we see especially on the buyer side, on the enterprise side, we think that the companies often do not perceive the value of the language asset, like having the data in the right quality, having the data at all, and not only having the LSP caring about translation memories and things like that. This is something that's we heard it. It's really important if you want to advance in automating things, and automating your processes, and using AI. You need these data stores. You need this in a high quality. You need to take care about those things. As an enterprise, you are the owner of those assets, and we see a lot of companies not taking enough care about those things.
Maybe because they believe that they have a vendor for it to do it for them.
Yeah, that might be one reason, or it's not important enough compared to other topics. I think this will change because this has to change. But the sooner you start, the better you can improve your language processes.
Excellent. I'll give you time later. Let's move on to the next point, which is the skills. Here's a question that we have for the audience. Which skills do you wish your linguists and project managers had to better support AI-driven environments, right? So I will ask you maybe to give us a little bit of the mindset of where do we want our industry to be positioned within the enterprise, and why do we have to fight for it? If you can.
Okay, maybe I'm going back to the buyer perspective again, because this is really interesting, because those are the ones that pay our bills, etc. So, well, what I see from enterprise, so really large companies, what they are working on right now in incorporating AI, etc., their view is quite broad. They want their company to have ears, to have eyes, to have hands to write, ears to listen, and a mouth to speak in multi-language, in all languages basically, and also lever the data that people are gathering from that, not in respect of TM or whatever old systems we have, but more into the direction of knowledge management systems. And why that? Because this is a real value that they can deliver out of this processes. And why? Because they can do many things that they couldn't do, like predictive maintenance, etc., etc. But this goes a little too far. So my question was, or the question that you see up here, probably you still see that, is what skills do people need? They have to be super language savvy. They have to be on the edge, riding the wave, and not crawling behind it. The younger the people are that you will speak to, the more they embrace AI by nature, and also with that, their understanding is totally different from what we are discussing with standard LSPs that really need to change right now, because LSPs, they still use a Nokia phone while everybody is having an iPhone, and this is a problem of this industry. And the good thing is we have solutions. I mean, here are so many solutions. We have Plunet, we have BeLazy, we have Blackbird.io, we have savvy people like Professor Köhler, and we have LSPs that are already transforming that.
I really have a question. If I'm now the PM or working with AI, why is it that we are so convinced and so determined to kill that we store segments? I mean, I've heard it so many times. I really don't get why is it that we really think that TMs and segments is so bad. I know that we might want to create more context around it, but so that's why I love curiosity, because I really don't, now I've been pretending like, yeah, let's kill it, but it's a great way to store it, label it, but that's maybe for...
corresponding to the source.
Microphone.
If they are corresponding to the source in a decent quality, you don't have to kill it at all, or at least store the document name or something.
Yeah, well, the reality is very often it doesn't, right?
One thing. Who wrote the first one? I would like to give the person a hug. I will give you a hug.
Love that.
Excellent. Artur, I loved the comment you put in there. I like to say to the students of translations that they're actually they have a huge advantage, but they're at the same level as the very experts in translations today because they are going through the same educational circle as the existing professionals, right?
Yeah, and I think that there's a lot also, I mean, internally, we have never had that high ENPS scores. I think it's being able to work with languages in this way seems to me as a very, very, meaningful way. So, yeah.
Question from the audience. 2.
I have 2 questions. One is very, very easy, and the second, I don't know. In the previous Slido you put the various problems, that we're facing, and loads of you put stuff. I just want to know who put stuff, what they meant. If anybody can tell me, because stuff was one of the things that appeared on one of the most voted ones. So, what do you mean with stuff? Like there's need of more tech people inside the company? Asking to the audience, not to the panel. Any of those who put stuff? Nobody put stuff? EB and AI did. Anyway, so that was the first question. You'd have to answer now, but I would love to have an answer. And the second question, now that Josef spoke about schools, university, I have spoken to a person. It's a customer. It's not it's a customer. It's a lawyer, and he said, "No, why? Well, I just told my daughter not to enroll in universities to studying languages." I got stuck. I wasn't fast enough and quick enough to give him an answer to say, don't, because we need people studying languages still. What would be your suggestion? On a technical side, maybe, because that's the evolution. If you would have to give an advice to those people saying, no, don't enroll for language university. Thank you.
It's been always the case. People never really loved languages, right? It would be the last exciting thing. Anyway, I'm just joking. Anyone?
I think that that will change because it's gonna be a huge market, and there will be so much diversity in it. But I think generally going into the education area, I think that is gonna be also radically changed with AI and how you're testing students. There's a lot of discussions in Denmark of should students be allowed to use AI or not. It's like saying to a math student that you're not allowed to use a calculator or a spreadsheet. So I think that there is so many things that's going to happen there. But eventually, for language, it's going to be huge. It's going to be so big also in the development departments. LLMs is built on language. So I think that this year it is a paradigm shift, but I think it's in years it's going to also be a super great, and it will be challenging to adapt to all the things happening, but essentially I think that there is a lot of opportunities ahead. So people should still educate themselves in languages.
Thanks.
Language is a very personal and subjective thing. My former boss from 20 years ago is now the president of the Hungarian Academy's Institute of Linguistics. So he's like the top linguist in the country. And when LLMs came out, I was thinking okay, the translators may be screwed, but what about the Linguistics Institute? That is much worse. So I asked him, what's happening with Chomsky and LLMs? And what he explained to me was that there are some people that see that Chomsky's theory was actually proven by the LLM, and there are some people that see that Chomsky is bullshit because it's all about statistics and nothing else. So it's you can have the two meanings. And why do you study languages? For wanting to be able to communicate with someone, for having a different personality. I've got a different personality in every language I speak. Schizophrenia, maybe. and then also to do something professionally with it. And what is interesting is how subjective is, for example, translation evaluation. Because even though I speak a couple of languages, I'm only thinking that I'm only able to judge translations into my native tongue. And nobody in the world is able to judge those people who judge translations only in their own language. So this problem is like on a very meta level, it's on discussional level. This is like it's not a data problem. And I think that this is one of the reasons why we probably still need a lot of linguists. And yeah, I'm not sure otherwise if we need so many. That's a question. How many we need? I don't know.
Any more questions from the audience? Okay, I have 2 more slides that I want, or 2 more questions that I want to put on there, and I will probably ask you, André, to give us some of the life case scenarios of the integrations or implementation of the processes, so that we can kind of take something home and get some real practical example of latest integration that makes the most sense for users, whether it's from all the way from the final user on the client side, right? Mm-hmm. Not just the person who buys translation services, but the internal stakeholder, all the way to the vendor, or whatever the case you want.
Yes, I would like to pick up one scenario we had to work on for different customers in the last year. So those were LSPs, and those LSPs, they were struggling with revenue and volumes going down due to the current market situation. And this was a point where they started to invest in automation, and especially they tried to automate everything that came in from the very small clients, like low in volume, where they usually had problems to work with a sufficient cost efficiency. And we have been working with those LSPs to really reach a 100% automation for those orders. And this was a very challenging task. It brought up a lot of integration tasks, and especially automated quality management was a big topic here. We both learned a lot how to do this. The processes are now in place; they are working. The clients are happy, like the end clients. They are still, they're working with those LSPs, and that was something we did. And I think that's a current topic, like for this year, maybe for next year, where if you are an LSP, you could invest in, and you could take a focus on.
Thank you, André. I have too many for too short of time, so I'll just go through these quickly, and I will ask you maybe to fill it in during the next break, and then we'll share the data with every one of you. So the best experience, of course, now that we have the worst one. Then what I wanted to ask you as well is the why the clients resist to use AI. Because from my experience, I'm not going to say Amazon because I'm not supposed to, but in one of the largest corporations in the world, they are forbidden to get any investments, any funding for any internal training purposes. But if you put those 2 letters out there, you're always going to get a yes. And you will get as much time for the purpose of training and testing it out as you like. So think about the client does it, and how much are we as an industry investing in developing it within our organizations. And that also goes back to what I said, what I showed earlier, the question, how much time are you willing, your team members, to invest into putting in there? I will keep this open for later. I'll put this one up, and in the meantime, I'll ask each of the how did you say it, Arthur? White gentlemen. That was the first thing I thought when I was introduced the panelists. I was thinking, okay, we're missing ladies here. Anyway, so can we go this way left? So we start with you, István. What are the goodbye? What's the goodbye message? And what's your closing remark?
It's a hard one. I hope that you will enjoy the conference.
That was short, thank you.
And I will be staying until tomorrow if anybody wants to talk or have a beer in the evening.
You can be longer than that, André.
Yeah, I can, but yeah, I enjoyed this discussion we had like yesterday and today. It was great meeting you all. I still would learn more about the challenges integrating AI in all the processes you have. So we are still open for discussion today and the day after. Thank you.
Thanks.
Well, Josef, you asked for, can you give like a practical example to the audience that they can take home? So let me then conclude with that. For example, we had a client who really wanted to automate creation of projects, let's say that. And they said they created a workflow. They were super happy with it. They said, well, first took us half an hour, now it takes 30 seconds. So quick maths, that's 60 times speed increase. And that's what automation is able to give you. But then I thought to myself, everybody celebrated, but I thought to myself, okay, but does that mean that your project managers can now handle 60 times more projects? No. And I think that is a very important lesson for everyone, both with AI, with automation, and everything that we're talking about today. Like, can you take that step back, or even multiple steps back, like get out of the house and look at your house, like, is this really going to change my business if we're just going to add AI or automation into the conversation, or what do I really need to change?
Great, thank you.
Thank you very much. Great use case for example, for LangOpsiness. Thank you. Well, okay. What I think what we are lacking is an operation system for language. We don't have that. We are currently working on that. Everybody is invited to join us. We're doing some really good work. It's not that easy because many people are still very reluctant, but probably those people will have to go anyway. Because right now the shift is there. It's, you know, clients are up front. LSPs are lacking to deliver the right answers, and this is something that you should work on it, because the data that we have in this world is really huge. 70% of this data is textual data, so this means this is multilingual in itself, and you have to think about that if you ever, you know, talk about segments again. But I like segments, don't worry. But you know, but you know, put it on a broader view. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of hope, and I think there's a lot of new perspectives if you really embrace it. Thank you.
Thanks, Arthur.
I'm so happy that at least half, or maybe actually with the no, then a little less than half said that they are willing to use purely AI translation without any human intervention. I think that at least this afternoon, if anyone would like to stop by, I can showcase at least how we have worked with it, how we are labeling up content in the platform, generating synthetic content, connecting it with Blackbird to Plunet to see how you could actually loop out linguist on content where it doesn't need any revision. So I think this is something that everyone needs to think of how they would incorporate it. Will it be sold as a different product? Will you add value in your value chain to your customers? Yeah.
Excellent.
I thought it was me or...
No, I was looking, I was trying to give István a chance to maybe say a few words, but if you're good.
Now I know where the SLVs are disappearing. So one of the things that I also in this industry we never taken seriously is SLAs. So like you know, this kind of like how you are working with people and what is the expected level of delivery, of quality, everything. And if you have to do something 100% properly, the cost of that versus like, you know, if you look at all these like Amazon and Azure and all of that, none of them is guaranteeing 100% uptime. They are guaranteeing 99.99 whatever. That little bit, if you are able to include, you know, like an agreement with your customers, which is about the customer communication, it is changing the world for LSPs. It is kind of like you will be able to do things because your pressure is not to do something 100% properly, but to measure what you are not doing right and improve on that. That would be like a little bit of wisdom here to add.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Thank you all. I appreciate the time and not to be shy to step up. Thank you very much Plunet for having us and hosting all of us. Really appreciate it. We went through a few topics: workflow, investment of your time into testing out new things because the transformation is here, it's happening. We need to implement it. I'm personally getting sick of just the quality measurements. Frederik, thanks for confirming that things are out there. I still believe there is a need for linguists, and we're still going to be there. We're not turning into technology companies, and whenever there is a translation company coming to me and saying, we don't want to be named as a translation company, we're a technology company, but you do sell translations. So, project management, okay. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Thanks again for having us. I look forward to speaking with you individually. Thanks. Please give applause to the panel.